In fact, it wasn't until the late 1950s when Porsche returned, entering the Porsche 718 RSK, a two-seater sports car, into Formula 2, because for some reason that was allowed back then. An attempted return in 1991 with footwork arrows was a miserable failure. Their Porsche 3512 double V6 engine weighed over 180 kilograms. The deal was so close, a press release was ready to go at the Austrian Grand Prix. Earlier in the week, the rumour mill went mad when a cryptic Instagram post suggested Porsche would be teaming up with Williams in Formula 1. However, before we knew it, they announced a reshuffle of their social media accounts, pouring cold water on the possibility. However, we're not convinced, and we still think there's a future partnership involving Porsche in the offing. But before we look ahead to any potential deal, let's take a trip back in our time machine and look at the history of Porsche in Formula 1. Let's go all the way back to the 1930s. Ferdinand Porsche, the founder of Porsche AG, initially designed Grand Prix cars for Mercedes and Auto Union. However, the manufacturer never really settled in single-seater racing. In fact, it wasn't until the late 1950s when Porsche returned, entering the Porsche 718 RSK, a two-seater sports car, into Formula 2, because for some reason that was allowed back then. This was then adapted to have a single seat in the middle of the car, and in '61, the former F2 cars were moved up to Formula 1, but Porsche weren't competitive at all. However, a year later, they enjoyed their first win as a constructor in Formula 1. The sleek Porsche 804 produced their only win as a constructor in a championship race, claimed by Dan Gurney at the 1962 French Grand Prix. At the end of the season, Porsche withdrew from Formula 1 due to the high costs, but privateers continued to enter the outdated Porsche 718 until 1964. 20 odd years later, Porsche returned, supplying water-cooled engines to McLaren, badged as tag units. Porsche didn't want to have their name associated with the engine because they feared if it failed, it would lead to bad publicity. It was quickly obvious Porsche engines were the best, and their name quickly appeared on the power units. Tag Porsche powered cars took 2 Constructors' Championships in 1984 and 85, and 3 Drivers' Crowns in 84, 85 and 86, as Niki Lauda and Alain Prost enjoyed plenty of success. However, their drivers regularly called for them to develop a qualifying engine to hold higher turbo boost. Porsche and tag owner Mansur Ujah, sorry for butchering that name, refused to do this due to the additional costs, and the fact they had 7 pole positions and 21 front row starts suggested they didn't really need to. An attempted return in 1991 with footwork arrows was a miserable failure. Their Porsche 3512 double V6 engine weighed over 180 kilograms, and there were even rumours of it just being 2 tag V6 engines strapped together, which were used by McLaren in 1983. Arrows sacked Porsche in favour of Cosworth engines, and Porsche haven't been seen on the F1 grid since. There were rumours around 2010 of a potential return, but nothing materialised, and it all went quiet until last year. On the 2nd of May 2022, it was announced that Porsche would make their return to the sport alongside the VW brand Audi. Audi would later team up with Sauber as an engine provider from 2026. There was a huge deal on the table with Red Bull, as Porsche targeted a 50% share in their Formula 1 programme. The deal was so close, a press release was ready to go at the Austrian Grand Prix. However, the FIA didn't approve the 2026 engine regulations before their planned date, delaying what seemed to be an inevitable deal. In August, Porsche even registered the F1 Finally trademark with the German Patent Office. A deal seemed certain. However, in September, it all fell through as they couldn't agree terms on an engine and team partnership. And that leads us here. Months of speculation, and this rumour has come out of absolutely nowhere. Now, Porsche have since played down the announcement, but Porsche in Formula 1, it's a when, not if. That's all for today. I've been Joe Tyrrell, and I'll catch you next time.